You grow up with a simple narrative. Jews are evil. Jews have fangs. Jews are evil creatures, and they are conspiring with their Christian counterpart in one table to take over the world.
Welcome to Global Perspectives. The Abraham Accords, brokered by the Trump administration, have changed the Middle East and North Africa region undoubtedly for the better. Today, it's my pleasure to bring to you one citizen of the Arab world whose message of coexistence, mastery of the Hebrew language, and knowledge of Israel will be a truly happy surprise. Join me. Loay, this week we had a historic Negev Summit in which Israel, for the first time in history, hosted on Israeli territory. Arab ministers from United Arab Emirates, where you live, Bahrain, Morocco, Egypt, and as well Secretary of State Anthony Blinken. From where you sit, what's your perception of the Negev Summit?
My perception of Negev Summit, it's the future of the Middle East. It's the new Middle East where the countries, the Middle Eastern countries collaborate together, that Israel is an integral part of this region, that the recognition of Israel is not a problem anymore, even to those who don't want to realize the facts on the ground that Israel is there and will stay. They have to catch up with the new Middle East. I saw it, an amazing photo that gathered the ministers of the foreign affairs of different countries and Israel, and I saw it a brighter Middle East, a Middle East where our children and grandchildren can hope for a better future.
I couldn't agree with you more about a new Middle East. And so tell me some more about that. From where you are again in the United Arab Emirates, in an Arab country, one of the ones that, of course, at the forefront of making the Abraham Accords peace with Israel. What do you see in terms of the change on the ground where you are?
I see a great change in people-to-people relations. Now, you picked Egypt a bit, and you said Egypt joined the Negev Summit, and I'm so happy for that. And I really give the credit to the UAE. The UAE, I believe Egypt feels a bit jealous that, hey guys, we've been there for 40 years, but we haven't done much. And the real motivation for that is what's happening in the UAE. Eli, it's really amazing what's happening here on the ground, the people-to-people relations, how Jews and Muslims celebrate mutual holidays, and how the Jews are prospering here, how many Jews moved from around the world to the UAE. The great thing about the Abraham Accords is that it really put the people-to-people as a model of success to be replicated by different countries. So peace is not only about diplomats, not between diplomats or between officials, it's between people. And this is important. And by the way, Eli, Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed said something, the UAE foreign minister, he said something very important in Negev Summit. He said,
it was incredible. Sheikh bin Zayed's speech at the Negev Summit. Tell us what you remember from it, because it was incredible to hear it.
I remember the most striking thing that he said, that this peace made us believe that we need to learn more about each other. And this what's happening here in the UAE. You see lots of knowledge and lots of education changing to the better about the Jews, about Judaism, about Israel, about the legitimacy of Israel, that Israel is not, or the Jews are not foreign colonialists or conquerors, in the land of Israel. So this is all part of education. And this happens when you have a stable people-to-people relation.
You know, Loay, I think you've just jumped into the heart of a lot of serious stuff there. When you talked about this narrative of Israel being a colonialist state, tell me what you perhaps learned growing up, and if you think those attitudes are changing. What I've learned in my travels to the Middle East as a deputy envoy to combat anti-Semitism is that many people grew up in the region being told that the Jews were brought in after the Holocaust and that they're these kind of white neocolonialists, completely erasing the thousands of year old history of Judaism, starting with Abraham and the fact that the story of the Jews begins with Israel.
I'll tell you the truth, and nothing but the truth. Okay, so I'll tell you honestly, in the Arab world, if you grow up, if you were born in 80s or 70s or even 90s, you grow up with a simple narrative. Jews are evil. Jews have fangs. Jews are evil creatures, and they are conspiring with their Christian counterpart in one table to take over the world. So the theory is that the Jews are evil and Jews are taking this land because they want to be on a front line to attack Muslims or to hurt Muslims or to do whatever they want to do. We were never told the right narrative. And to be very honest, Eli, I was once in my life, I was affected by this narrative. And I thought, okay, everyone is saying the Jews are bad, Jews are evil. So the Jews are evil, the Jews are bad, So it takes you an extra step to change by education. And this what happens, or this what happened when I lived with a Jewish family in France. I really changed a lot, and I learned a lot about Israel and about the history of the Jewish people. And this is one of my messages on social media, Eli, to change people's perspective, to educate them, to tell them what is right and what is wrong. Last night, I saw an Emirati influencer visiting Israel, and he was saying that this is the mosque that the Prophet, peace be upon him, went to. And this is absolutely incorrect. And this is not historical true, because at the time of the Prophet, the Temple Mount was destroyed. There were no mosques. This mosque was built by an Umayyad caliphate. His name was Abdul Malik ibn Marwan. So Abdul Malik ibn Marwan.
Yeah, let me interject just so the audience knows. So what you're referring to is the Temple Mount, which right now also it's the Jewish Temple Mount, and it's the Islamic
Haram al-Sharif.
Haram al-Sharif.
Ironically, it's also called in Arabic Bayt al-Maqdis. And not so many people know that Bayt al-Maqdis is a Hebrew word, and it's Bayt HaMikdash. So can you imagine the amount of education that we want to instill in people's mind and tell them the truth? Horrible.
So, and Loay, I cut you off. I want you to finish it. So you've got this Emirati influencer who went to the Temple Mount, also known as Dome of the Rock in English, and he says that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was there, and you were saying it was in fact built in the Umayyad period, which is thousands of years.
Yeah, that was a shock to him, and he said, no, but we were told that this mosque stood still at the time of the Prophet. And I tell him, wake up, this is not true. At the time of the Prophet, there was only the rock, and that rock was actually used as a trash by the Romans, because the Romans provoked the Jews. When they exiled the Jews, they did so many things. They destroyed the temple. They changed the name of the land. They removed Judea and they replaced it with Syria, Palestina. So this is why the name Palestine came, the time of Emperor Hadrian. So my friend, you need to educate yourself. So the thing that he said, which is, I hear a lot, why weren't we told this? Why weren't we told the other narrative? Of course, because
And what do you think, Loay? Why do you think that is? Why are kids in the Arab world and in the Muslim world taught things that are just not factual?
I'll be very honest with you. I'm not going to be evasive. Okay, I'll be very honest in my answers, and I believe the reason is the Palestinian cause, and they think that they're doing a favor to the truth by defending the Palestinians, or by defending what they call it, the Palestinian cause, even with lies, because that was a bold lie, and the truth is actually that the Jewish people, that we believe in, by the way, that we believe in the Jewish prophets, we believe in the prophets of God, but we disconnect the fact that they were Israelis. We disconnect the fact that we are disconnected from the fact that they were Israelis, and we are disconnected from the fact that they lived in a land they called Israel. This is the truth that so many people in the Arab world need to learn about, instead of the lies that they are willing to die for.
Loay, it is really tragic, the fact that so many thousands of Palestinian children, I would say, are the victims of the Palestinian leadership, in the sense that these kids are brainwashed, that they are almost groomed to grow up to be violent and to be terrorists, to never be able to accept the reality of Israel being their neighbor next door. It's truly a tragedy, just purely from the perspective of the Palestinian population, never mind the broader millions of kids in the Arab and Muslim world. And Loay, I want to stay a little bit on the issue of the Dome of the Rock, of the Temple Mount, because as you know, it's one of the most explosive issues there are. In fact, if you look at the May-Gaza conflict with Israel that we just went through, what happened at the time, just prior to the May conflict, when Hamas started to rain down rockets on Israel, was this lie that the Palestinian Authority and Hamas kind of bring up over and again, where they claim that the Israelis are trying to take over the Dome of the Rock. Utter nonsense, because the Waqf has full control of the Dome of the Rock, and in fact it's Jews who are not allowed to pray and worship there. What do you think about that, about the fact that this has turned into such an explosive issue?
I think that it has to change. It has to change with pressure. It has to change with telling people that, guys, the holiest sites in Islam are not in Israel. The holiest sites in Islam are in Saudi Arabia, the Grand Mosque, Mecca, and the Prophet Mosque, Medina. These are the holiest sites. These are the sites where the Prophet, when he died, he spoke about the two holy sites, the Masjid Al-Haram, the Grand Mosque in Mecca, and the Prophet Mosque. The Dome of the Rock was not there at the time of the Prophet. I see it very provocative when you say the Jews are not allowed to go there. And I know this is true, and this is absolutely absurd. But it will change with education. It will change by telling people the truth. Give what is yours, or take what is yours to you, and give what is not to the others. And this is absolutely have to be stated. I'm not saying let's demolish Dome of the Rock and let's rebuild the third temple, or Beit HaMikdash HaShlishi. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we have to come to our senses and recognizing facts as they are. This is the holiest site to the Jewish people, so at least they have the right to go and pray there. But in the Arab media, they call the Jews going to the Temple Mount to pray. They call it in Arabic iqtiham, like seizure, or they're seizing the Haram Sharif, and it's horrible, and it's against the truth. And by the way, Eli, there is a paper. It's on the internet that the Muslim Council stated that it's undisputed that Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa is built on the exact location of Solomon's temple. It's called The Guide to Al-Haram Al-Sharif. I'm calling your viewers to search for that document. You will find it even in Palestinian websites, which is very ironic. We don't
Well,
read.
Loay, let me ask you something. So it's incredibly significant what you're saying, and incredibly significant for Muslim people. How optimistic are you about the educational changes that would be necessary for your average Muslim child to be as educated as you are? I mean, you're completely blowing me away right now with the depth of your knowledge on this subject.
I'm very optimistic, and I see the change happening in social media slowly, but that takes the will of the leaders to say, let's put facts as they are. Let's change people's perspective to the truth. If leaders step in, I believe it would take a shorter time. If not, social media is already doing a good job, and we are just stating facts. Illy, what I'm saying, I believe what I'm saying saves lives. Because when you tell people the truth, and when you tell them that this is not yours, and you have to give some people's respect, you have to give some people the right to worship in their holiest site, and this is the contradiction that so many Muslims call that site Beit al-Maqdis. Okay, Beit al-Maqdis comes from where? I don't know. It's an Arabic word. It's not. It's Beit HaMikdash in Hebrew. Now this by itself is a shock to so many Muslims worldwide.
It is amazing. And by the way, for the audience to understand, Beit HaMikdash is the Hebrew word for the Holy Temple, so for the Jewish Holy Temple. And what you're saying is that in Arabic, there's been a tradition of calling the site Beit HaMikdash, in the Arabic of Beit HaMikdash, which again would Beit al-Maqdis, right? So which would seem to be in an acknowledgement of the site being a Jewish site. Loay, you yourself are an incredible influencer. You've got hundreds of thousands of people following you, and you are one of the most vocal voices in supporting the Abraham Accords and supporting this warm peace and people-to-people peace between Emiratis, Bahrainis, I believe the broader Arab world, and with Israel and the Jewish people. What motivates you to do this work? I know it's not without risk.
I know what motivates me is actually the hope that I want to see in the next generation to stop this kind of violence and to build a better future for all of us. I am motivated by many things. One of the things that the words of Isaiah the prophet motivates me when he said, "Lo yasa goy el goy harif, v'lo yelmidu od milhama." That's in Hebrew, nation shall not lift up sword against nation, they shall learn war no more. I see it. What motivates me, that I want to see people living with each other, accepting each other in our region, to have the Middle East as the new Europe. And this is, by the way, the dream of MBS, Prince Mohammed bin Salman. He said that I depict the Middle East as the new Europe. You will never have this unless you recognize Israel, unless you recognize the right of Jews to prosper in their ancestral homeland, without bringing Saudi Arabia, UAE, and different countries together to defend this region, without changing curriculum that spreads hate from anyone, hate against each other, hate the Jews just because they're Jews, or hate the Arabs just because they are Arabs. There are extremists on all sides, and I really want our dear friends in Israel to I know that they when they go through hard times, they think, oh, all the Arabs are like that. No, that's not right. And haters are the echo of each other. I always say that. A hater is an echo of another hater. So we have to live without this. And the change that I see, Illy, is the real motivation. We are not spreading hate. We are not spreading violence. Believe me, Illy, and this might be sensitive to you as an American. September 11 happened because there were people having an idea. I'm gonna hate them. I'm gonna kill them. I'm gonna go to heaven, and I want to change that. I'm gonna coexist with my Jewish and Christian friends. Even if we have our differences, we will thrive together because we want God to look down to us. And I always say that we want Abraham to look down to his children and say, thank you for working together, rather than, what are you doing by killing each other?
Loay, amen to that. Amen to that. And I want to tell you something. When I came to the United Arab Emirates in my official capacity as a deputy special envoy, I saw with my own eyes this vision that the Saudi Crown Prince MBS has for the region. I saw with my own eyes the coexistence that exists on the streets of Dubai and Abu Dhabi. And I do believe that the Middle East is actually the bright spot now for the Jewish people as we're becoming victim to rising anti-Semitism right here in the United States, unfortunately, and for many years now in Europe. So, in fact, I think that the Saudi Crown Prince has a vision that could very much become a reality. I want to ask you about that because you were born in Saudi Arabia yourself. What's your forecast on the potential Saudi-Israel relationship?
I'm going to speak just representing myself, and I believe that the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman really wants to build this bright Middle East. And he made a statement to the Atlantic, and he said that we don't view Israel as an enemy, we view it as a potential ally. But there are a few things that need to be settled. And he mentioned, of course, the Palestinian conflict that has to be settled between the Israelis and the Palestinians. But eventually, every leader who wants to have a prosperous Middle East, a thriving Middle East, I really say, Ili, to my friends, come to Abu Dhabi, see how people live, see the infrastructure, and see the quality of life people are having here, and how much we are blessed by having great leaders like MBZ and great leaders of the UAE. And you would say, I want the Middle East to be like this. I received this comment from a lot of people. We want to have the Middle East like the UAE. This is the great thing that we're having here in this amazing and beautiful country. And this will happen, or this will be cascaded in the region when we have a great relation with all the countries in the region. And I always say that, by the way, Ili, even with Iran, I really hope that we have an amazing relation with Iran if they change their ideology that wants to export what they call it, the Islamic revolution to their neighboring countries. And this is what poses a threat. But the Persian history, the Iranian people are amazing people. I see that maybe the Saudi-Israeli normalization, ani mikaveh, as I say in Hebrew, ani mikaveh, I wish it will happen, but I think it will take a bit more time.
Loay, first of all, your Hebrew is incredible. I want you to know that everything that you shared is really hopeful for all of us, because I am hopeful that we will see diplomatic ties, full peace and normalization between the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and Israel. I think that it's really a question of when, not if. And to your point about the Iranians, I am an Iranian myself, born in that country, and I can fully confirm what you're saying about the Persian people. They are just waiting to get back into the mainstream of the world. And so this vision that I think you're sharing with our audience is one in which we will have a Middle East where moderate countries who care about their citizens, who wish for prosperity for their own citizens and for a region of peace, we hope that will triumph over all of the evil and chaos that bad actors like the Iranian regime are trying to put out there. And so with that, Loay,
I'm sorry, I have to say one thing before I conclude. Not only we hope, we have to fight for it. Eli, the last night there was an incident in Israel, five killed, may their memories be a blessing. I always say, what if those people who kill innocent people on the street prevailed? What could the state they would govern look like? Can you answer me this question? How would you live under their control? Would I live under the control of people who want to justify their acts by killing innocent people, by killing rabbis, by killing old people on the street. The Jews were persecuted for a very long time, and not a single Jew detonated himself in a German camp or a Nazi camp to say, well, you know what, I've been through a lot, so I'm just going to blow myself up. There are people who appreciate life and work for it, and there are people who appreciate death. We don't want to coexist with terrorists or with those who appreciate death over life.
Thank you, Loay. Those are very powerful words, and I'm with you. We got to fight for it. We got to fight for this better future for our children and grandchildren that feels like it's within our grasp and within our reach. Thanks to people like you, Loay, and thank you so much for joining me on Global Perspectives. Shukran.
A great pleasure. And Badma. Thank you so much, Eli.